Hi folks, I'm Nathan with Two Guys and a Ride, and welcome to our how-to video on the 2019 Ford Escape, and this is the Titanium Edition. Today I'll be covering the driver's information and infotainment screens. I'll do a general overview, show you how to access information, and do a deep dive. Let's get started.
Today we're working with our friends at Luther Mankato Honda in Mankato, Minnesota.
On the driver's information screen, we have an RPM gauge, of course, on the left. That's analog. We have fuel and engine temperature in the middle. Those are both analog. And then, of course, an analog speedometer on the far right with miles per hour on the outside and kilometers on the inside. In the center, upper center of the screen is where we have our driver's information area that we can change. Now, to do that, we're going to use the 4 cursor buttons on the left side of the steering wheel and the OK button. So if I press the left button right here, you're going to notice I go to a sort of a main menu, and it's got all this information in there. Okay, so these are the screens that we can go to. So I'm going to go to trip 1, and to do that, I'm just going to press OK. And you'll notice that over on the right, towards the picture of the car, there are some little white lines. This means you have several other screens inside of this trip 1 area. So in this first screen here, we're going to have the odometer, we're going to have miles per gallon. The bottom left would be instant miles per gallon. And then, of course, how many miles till empty. If I go down one, you just get a nice digital speedometer. Go down again, you get just the trip meter. And then you get a separate screen for average fuel economy, and then instant fuel economy, distance to empty, and then a trip timer. So a lot of the same things you had in the first picture here with a few additional things. Now, on this one here, you do have the option to go right on the Ford Eco mode. And if I go right, right here, you have anticipation and speed, current score for speed, and then in the Eco mode, you have how many percent of trips were taken with a cold engine. So you have some extra information in there. I'm going to press the back arrow. I'm going to press the back arrow again. Okay, I'm going to go down here to trip 2. Press that. And again, this is just the second trip meter. It has the same pages as the first one did, but it's your trip 2. So you have all the same functions for trip 1 as you do for trip 2. Okay, now I just went all the way back again. I'm going to go down to information, click the OK button, and here you have a picture of your intelligent 4-wheel drive system, so you can tell which tires are getting traction. That's what those little kind of gray squares on each side of the car are. They're to represent the tires and the traction, or if they're spinning or not. All right, down one screen here, you have some My Key information. And then you have, this one tells you how many admin keys you have. And then you have a system check, and then you have a right arrow. So 0 messages are showing, but if I press the right arrow, then it does a system check and tells me all systems are normal. So I'm going to go back. I'm going to go back again. I'm going to go down to settings. Now, settings is the last one here. I'm going to click on here, and this is where you have some features that you can adjust. So driver assist. Here you can turn traction control on or off simply by pressing the OK button. It'll tell you it's off, and then I can press the OK button again, and it turns it on. All right, I'm going to hit the back arrow. Okay, I'm going to go down to vehicle. I'm going to press the OK button. Auto engine off. Okay, so this is if you want the auto start stop feature, you can turn that feature off so it's not starting to stop on you. You do get better fuel economy if that's on, but if it's annoying, you can turn it off. Okay, here you've got a compass, and you want that displayed. Okay, you'll notice the compass is in the far bottom right of the digital screen. It says south right now, or S. If I just click that, it disappears. All right, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go down to chimes. Okay, parking slot. If you want that chime to be off, you just press OK button. If you want it on, you can leave the check mark in there. Easy entry exit. So this is when this does not have powered tilt and telescope steering wheel, but does have a power seat. if you click Easy Entry Exit On with the OK button, you place the check mark. What that's going to do, of course, is that's going to, when you shut the car off and open the door, it's going to move your driver's seat all the way back to allow you easier access to get out. And then when you get back in again and close the door and start the car, it's going to pull the seat up again for you. So that's a really nice feature if you've never used that. All right, then we'll go back here under settings again. Okay, lighting. If I press the OK button here, I can have the rain lights on or off. And then I can also change the auto lamp delay so that when you turn the car off, the lights will stay on for 20, 40, or 60 seconds, just to give you a little extra time to get to your door. All right, I'm gonna go back twice there. I'm gonna go down to oil life reset. So this is where you just press and hold OK to after you change your oil. I'm gonna go back one, go down to remote start, click here. All right, the system is either on or off with this check mark. So if it's not checked, the remote start system isn't on. So I'm gonna leave it on. I'm gonna go down here to climate control. And then you have these choices, and I won't go through all of them, but they all work the same way. So for instance, when you remote start, okay, your heater AC, do you want it to be auto or last settings? And all you do is just click that OK button. I would probably leave it on auto. Then the vehicle senses if it's hot or cold outside and then does the appropriate thing. Either turns on the AC or turns on the heat. And I'm gonna do one more. Heated wheel. Again, auto heated or off. And these work the same way, the rest of them. So you can go through and adjust what happens when you hit that remote start. Or you can say, I don't want anything to happen, and you then click that system button off. The other thing you can do is you go to duration here for remote start, and you can say, I want remote start to go for 5 minutes and shut off, 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to go back. You can have option to have a quiet start if you want. It's just just what it says. It's just a little quieter when it starts up. Wipers right here. Okay, you can have a courtesy wipe when you put the car in reverse. I have never liked that feature personally, so I always leave mine off, but if you want to, you can, every time you put it in reverse, it'll give you a courtesy wipe in the rear window. All right, that's the end of that list. I'm gonna go back down over here. This is where you can program my key, all right? Down here, you have display. So you could change the language. You have a couple choices there. Hit the back arrow. You can have the vehicle graphic on or off in the information screen here. And then you can set your distance units. Right now it's set to miles per gallon, but you do have some other choices. Hit the back arrow again. Temperature. Okay, you can just change if it's Celsius or Fahrenheit. And that's the end of that list. And I'm going to go backwards one more. And I'm going to go backwards one more, and that is the bottom of the list. And so that is the driver's information screen. Now, on the rest of the steering wheel, you do have cruise controls over on the left. You got on, off, your set buttons, resume and cancel, and then over on the far right, you do have volume control. You have your media buttons to skip forward and backwards and things, and then you've got your voice command button. All right, next we're going to move over to the infotainment screen. So the infotainment system is a Sync 3. It's got an 8-inch screen. It's got a Sony audio system with 10 speakers, 390 watts, and it does have a regular amplifier, meaning it's not like a green amplifier where they're using bits and pieces of the car to help create sound. It's an actual amplifier. With 390 watts. It does have AM and FM radio, Sirius XM, Apple and Android capable, and that is a wired connection. And then of course has navigation and Bluetooth. And then it does have two smart charging USBs down below the climate controls. And what smart charging does is it can give different amounts of voltage to what you're charging. So typically, things that you would plug in here, a tablet or a phone, it will give it the appropriate amount of power to charge. All right, up on the screen itself, this is an interesting configuration. It looks great, and the Sync 3 is a great system. This little hump right here does make it a little challenging to get up and press the button, because of course it is a touch screen, but it's certainly doable. All right, so you got a couple physical buttons. First of all, you got a power button. When you do that, hit that one, okay, it turns the audio off. Hit it again, audio comes back on. You have a mute button up here, and we'll overlay a picture here. You'll see it a little better because it's really curved. You have a source button here, which allows you to switch between your different sources just with a click of the button. And then you, of course, have a dedicated sound button, or you can go in here and change things. And then you've got a screen off, and everything is still functioning, playing, everything. It's just that maybe nighttime driving, you don't want that brightness there. Nice, easy click of the button. And then, of course, your hazards are right here. Nice, big physical button, turns your flashers on or off. Now, up here, you've got a tune up, a tune down, skip right or skip left or skip forward, skip back, and then a physical volume knob right here. Okay, let's go back here to the main screen. So in this home screen, you've got a split window. The interesting thing is that the Maps button here or here, it's the same thing. Because I have Apple CarPlay running, it goes straight to Apple CarPlay, and I happen to have Waze running. The car does have a built-in navigation system. If I unplug my phone from Apple CarPlay, now when I go, see, I get navigation. And if I click there, I get the car's built-in navigation. So it's interesting that you're not given a choice between the two. It's assumed that if you have Apple CarPlay running and you go to navigation, you're going to want to use one of your own apps. So I'm going to hook my phone back in here. We're going to go back to the dots. We're going to go back to the forward sync button. Okay, now the other button that you have is Apple CarPlay Preferences, and of course right now it's enabled. You could disable it or delete it, and then you can choose to show on connection or not. In other words, when I plugged my phone in, instantly Apple CarPlay screen came up. If you didn't want that, you could turn that feature off, and then when you plugged your phone in, Apple CarPlay wouldn't always come on. Now, I'm going to be curious to know if I leave that off and go back here and click on it. Nope, it's still going to go to the navigation, the app. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that on. All right, we're going to go back here to home. So that's your home screen. Up above, you of course got a clock, and then your outdoor temperature. Yes, it's -6 with a -21 with wind chill today. So glad we're inside. If you click on the clock, this is where you can go to change it. Okay, this little button down here gives you ability to scroll down to see more features. The eye right here gives you information on what you're adjusting, but this is where you can go to adjust your clock. All right, now let's go down for a minute to audio. So I had showed you sources before. This is where you go to change. So I'm just going to go to FM for a minute. These are all your presets right here, and you have 3 sets. So if I go here, this is preset number 1, preset number 2, and preset number 3. Instead of giving you arrows left and right, they just give you one button to push. All right, if you want to tune the radio, you can do a couple of things. First of all, I can use the tune down or tune up buttons right here. And it's going, it's not going to presets. You're actually going by increments here. You can go to direct tune and just type in a number. Don't know what that is, but that's what we're going to go to. So then if you've got a station that you like, how do you make a preset? Well, you just click and hold on any of the presets, and now it's saved. And it works the same for AM. It works the same for Sirius XM. On Sirius XM, you get a few more options right here. You get a channel guide. We've seen that before. You get a replay, but otherwise it looks pretty much the same. These are all your presets here. All right, in any media, to adjust the sound, just go to the sound button right here, and then you can click and drag or use the arrows on all of these. Balance and fade is down here. And again, this is a click drag, or you can slide these or click on the arrows. Okay, and then speed compensated volume, off, low, medium, or high are your choices, and that means the louder it is inside the vehicle, the louder the volume of the audio goes up. So faster driving, usually highway driving, and then when you're back into town at slower speeds and it's quieter in the car, it brings it down. It tries to balance it in your ear. So it always sounds the same. All right, so that's audio. Now, go back to the home screen for a minute. When I go to phone, it's going to go to Apple CarPlay because that is how I've hooked up. If you have Bluetooth hooked up, it'll actually bring up just the phone. So, here we go. If I want to use my phone, I just can click on the app right here, and there I have it. So I got favorites, recents, contacts, I got a keypad, voicemail, it's all there. These three things are your most recently used items, okay? And then this allows you to have either a view of the apps that will work with your car, or you notice I have one more dot to go, and I can either swipe or click, but then it brings me back to the split screen. All right, and so now I've got Waze running, I've got a search feature, and then of course my last media thing that was playing. So I'm going to go back here. Just want to point out that even though the car has built-in navigation, and we'll go into that, you can use the navigation, any app you have. I mean, I've got Apple Maps, I've got Google Maps, and then I had Waze. Music, I've got Pandora, I got a radio app, I've got audio books, radio, Amazon Music, Apple Music. If you've never used Apple CarPlay or Android Auto before, I'd really encourage you to sit down and hook your phone up and do it, because it is so nice. If I get a text, the only physical thing really I have to do is it'll pop up a little number, and I click on it. From there on out, Siri or your Google Assistant will take over. It'll read the message. It'll ask if you want to reply. You can dictate your reply. It'll read it back to you. It'll ask if you want to send. I mean, it's all pretty much hands-free except for that first thing where you're just touching to get the message. But it is really, really slick. I've already showed you maps. That's the Google Maps. There are the Waze maps that came up on my Apple CarPlay. I'll go back in a little bit and show you the built-in navigation. But I can go straight to Apple CarPlay here if I want, which I don't want right now. And then over here, you've got settings. You do have some settings for Sirius XM here that you can go through and change. So now under General, here's where you can change like your language, distance, temperature. If you don't like that touchscreen beep, you can turn it off. You can also use the arrows down here to scroll down. Automatic system updates, okay? On or off. And I'm just going to say, ask me later, because I don't want to change it for somebody. And then you can view the current version of your software. And then, of course, you can click on here About Sync and Software Licenses. And in case everything gets messed up, this is where you can do a master reset, okay, to try to get everything back to factory settings. All right. Go back here. We've got three little dashes, so we've got two more screens here. 911 assist, that's a very common thing in Ford vehicles. So if you turn that one on, if it senses an accident, it dials 911 for you. This does have a 4G LTE Wi-Fi hotspot, so you can click on here and you can configure that. Now under vehicle, you can look at camera settings, and typically this is, okay, enhanced park aid. So if I turn that on, you notice you get the sort of the bird's eye view, but it's showing you the sensors around the vehicle so that you can, if you're gonna get too close to something, you'll see it. That's a nice thing to have. Rear camera delay. If you turn that on, after you've been in reverse and you put it into drive, the backup camera stays on until you get to about 5 miles an hour, and then it shuts off. That I'd really like in my car, and I leave that on all the time, but you can adjust that there. I'll go back. You can check out your modem serial number if you want. Let's go to display. All right, this is another way to turn display off, but you got that button here. You can change the brightness. You can change the mode of the brightness, and then you could use auto dim. Now, what auto is going to do here is if it's daylight, it's going to make your screen brighter. If it's nighttime, it's going to make it darker, so it's not so bright in your eyes. But if that's not good enough and it's still too bright for you, you can change it to night, and you can see how it gets darker right there. Okay, or you can change it to day. I'm just going to leave it on auto, but you've got those adjustments right there. I'm going to hit the back. You do have a valet mode if you ever use your vehicle for valet. It just gives you a code to punch in, and it limits things like, the audio volume and stuff. This vehicle does have ambient lighting, and it's so simple to use. You just click on whatever you want, and then you can slide the intensity up and down. Okay, and those are your color choices. I'm going to go back again. If you're selling a car off, in today's day and age, it makes really good sense to make sure that all of your personal data is out of the vehicle. So, if you have a phone, okay, I happen to have mine running through Apple CarPlay, so I go to Apple CarPlay Preferences. And I click on, I don't know whose phone this is, but I'm going to help them out, and I'm going to delete it. Yes. So you'd have to go through that list. All right, and there's a few on here. That, of course, is my phone. All right, so I'm going to go back here for a minute. Now, I am going to unplug my phone so we can take a look at the car's navigation. So now I've got the regular navigation, and I'm going to just click on that. Okay, so under here, if you want to do a destination, there's a number of ways to do that. If I want to do it manually, you can search here, click here to search addresses, cities, or POIs. You can look at previous destinations and then just click on them. You can set up an address for home, work, and then you can do some favorites. So that you just click on them and it's like a one click and it plots it. That's really nice. You can also search for food, fuel, hotel, ATM, or you can see all the categories. So, tech tip number 1. With so much information being set in the vehicles, and you can see it from this one, how many people forgot to delete their data out. Not that I can access their phones, but they're still connected. So maybe when you set up your home address, maybe set up an address that's a local library near you, because you'll obviously know how to get home, and not actually your actual home address. And you can delete these things, but if you're the type of person that's going to forget to delete your phone, you're not going to remember to delete out your addresses either. So those can all be deleted, but if you're not the kind of person that does that, set up something maybe that's not your actual home. Okay. Now, you can go through and do all this, right? However, the easiest thing to do is to use the voice command button that's on the far right side of the steering wheel, like this. You just click and let it go.
Please say a command.
Navigate to McDonald's.
Please say a line number.
4.
When ready, press the voice button and then say, set as destination.
Set as destination.
Setting new destination. Obey traffic laws, be alert, and use voice commands while driving.
All right, so right now we're in a split screen view, and it's very, very easy to get out of the split screen view and back into it. All you need to do is click somewhere on the navigation map. You want to get back to that turn-by-turn look, click on the map, click this button up here. Simple as that. Now, I am going to get rid of that for a minute. Okay, so then the other question is, how do you cancel a route? Well, to do that, you're just going to click on the menu and click Cancel Route. Okay, and then little slow to respond. It's cold this morning. The car is complaining. All right, so click here again to get rid of that split screen, and there you go. So that's how you plot a route. You just use that voice command button. But you can, as I said, physically type it in. Now, you can make additional settings in your navigation, which can be really, really helpful. And really, folks, they're one-time things. You sit down one time and do them, and then you just let them be. You might have to hit controls there, and then menu. Okay, you've got some settings. So first of all, you can choose a screen view, full map, or exit highway info. All right, you can look at a traffic list right here or right around you. But under navigation settings, you can go under map preferences and you can say, you know, you want 3D city model on or off. And I'm not going to go through all these, but this, folks, is where you make those changes. Breadcrumbs. This leaves a trail while you drive. So if you're out on some area that's not well mapped, you can turn on breadcrumbs so that you can find your way back down the dirt road to the highway. Point of interest icons, on or off. Okay, I would suggest you leave those on. And then incident map icons, like where there's accidents, that kind of stuff. All right, now go back here, that route preferences. Do you want to always use the fastest route, shortest route, or the most economical? Okay, in this one, they give you kind of just a quick click, always use the fastest route. Use HOV lanes, automatically find parking, equal time penalty. So down here, you're going to check mark to avoid freeways, avoid toll roads, that kind of stuff. And then under navigation preferences, guidance prompts. All right, so if I click here, you can have voice and tones, voice only, or only tones. I would strongly suggest you either do voice only or voice and tones, unless you're really familiar with the car and you like looking at the screen every time it gives you a prompt, like turn right. If tone only is on, it's only going to ding at you. It's not going to tell you to turn right. So I would suggest leaving that one on. All right, so you can also click on where am I, and it will give you the location if it can. So if someone's calling you and say, well, where are you? Well, that's how you can find out. Okay, so that's how you can go through and make those settings in navigation. And really the one you're most concerned about is that one right there, and making those one-time settings. Now, when we looked at the screen before, apps was grayed out. So I'm going to click on apps for a minute, and I can connect a device via Bluetooth here. I can find mobile apps, or I can have the SiriusXM travel link, which gives you all sorts of things, you know, movie listings, sports info, weather, that kind of stuff, fuel prices. All right. So I'm going to go back to home again. So last thing is the backup camera. So we'll just put it in reverse here. And you've got, I have this extra area turned off so I can see this, the thing. So you can see where it's sensing some objects. It's a wall in front of me, nothing in the back. And then I have my dynamic swivel guidelines. And I like it that they leave the fixed lines and then give you the swivel ones anyways. You want a hitch view, you can press the plus button, and then it gives you a little dotted line to back up your, to your trailer with. Okay, so that is a super nice feature. Along with that, you do have an automatic parking feature. That button is located just below the climate control buttons. It's got a little letter P with a steering wheel. And if I click that, I can select whether I want to do a parallel park, if I want to do a perpendicular park, or if I want to do a parallel park out, where it gets the car out of the parallel park system, or turn it off altogether. Okay, now, as you do that, what you basically do is turn on, let's say it's your right signal, because you're going to park on the right, and when it senses opening, it'll give you commands, stop, and you'll have to shift, you'll have to run the brakes, but it'll do all the steering for you. Okay, so that is a very nice feature to have on the car. And then, of course, to get out of that, you just press the button a couple times, it'll go scroll through it, and then it'll get back to this screen. Okay, and that's it for the infotainment screen and the driver's information screen on the 2019 Ford Escape. And again, this is the Titanium Edition. Thanks for watching.